On with the show. This is it. So, hey, everybody, welcome to another live stream episode of Talking Timepieces, where we talk about watch collecting and horology. I see I got a big shadow on my chin from the microphone, so I'll just turn the sensitivity a little bit. And hey, how's it going, Just Lola? How's the world treating you? Hope it's going wonderfully. I hope you had a fantastic week. I hope you're a happy camper and that the world is rotating in the correct direction and speed for you. Um, Today's episode is prompted by a lot of things. We live in uncertain times, money is tight, prices are going up, things cost money, and watches are. I do agree with Adrian that a watch is not necessarily a luxury watch, but it is definitely a luxury purchase if you do not need to make it, and it is for a reasonable amount of money. So even the new Seiko GMT for 500 bucks could be arguably said to be a luxury purchase, even though it is not a luxury watch. Um, and so the topic about buying watches on credit has been done by other people. I've talked about it a little, but I haven't really gone into it in any depth or extent. But I just recently had an experience that prompted me to think of it, and it's coupled with some things that I've been thinking about my collection and my collecting habits that are reflecting some of the financial aspects of the times. And the first is, of course, buying a watch on credit. The axiom in the industry, and it's something that I've said many, many times, is don't buy a watch on credit. And I found myself putting a watch on a credit card while I was in Munich at a press conference this week. I came across the new Rado Captain Cook chronograph, and it lists for 41, and the Chris salesperson offered it to me for 35. And for that kind of savings, I was willing to put it on my credit card because I figured the month or two it would take me to pay that chunk is less. The interest on that is less than the money I saved on the amount of money that he offered me on that watch. So it made me think of what other circumstances would legitimize the use of a credit card in buying a watch. Because even some would say, Alex, you shouldn't have done that, because what happens if something catastrophic financially happens? You've now got this 3,500 euro, well, dollars now, it's roughly the same, hit on your credit card. Well, I'm a lucky person. I only had 1,000 on the card at all. I have only, I have a very low credit card debt. So I'm in a very lucky position. I know a lot of people who are in tremendous amounts of credit card debt, and to do anything on your credit card is not a good idea of any frivolous nature. But if you're like me and don't have a high balance, and you use the credit card as a way to move money around and not as a way to cushion your lifestyle, then an occasional purchase of that nature is justifiable in my opinion, especially now having been forced to confront that reality myself. I'm drinking a Bayreuther Hell today. Um, I would like to think that if I was in financial straits and I had been presented with that same opportunity, I would have turned it down, but I don't know. I'm not going to preach. But like I said, in this case, I thought the money that I'm saving on the watch purchase is worth the hassle and risk of paying the several months of interest on the money, and the risk that I might not be able to pay it back because of spontaneous financial hardship or something of that nature. Oh, hey, Christian, how's it going? Christian Eggerer. Hannes. Hey, Hannes, how's it going? Nice to see you tonight, Hannes Lair. Greetings, Alex. Hiding from the rain outside to enjoy the evening. Thank you. I'm always honored. As I've said before, I love this show. The ability to reach out with the community and talk about things is one of the most important aspects of this show to me. I do believe that in the interview and the conversation are the most important aspects of journalism and obviously communication. And so whenever you can all join me, I'm very honored and pleased, and I'm a lucky and blessed man that there are people who actually take time out of this incredibly busy day and feel that what I have to say is worth the time and effort to pay attention to. So I hope that my show is of a caliber that you enjoy. So thanks for being on board today, all of you. So, James Duffy, how's it going, James? I hate to leave money on the table, so I use credit cards to get the points, but I pay off the balance before the interest kicks in. Well, see, James, that's a great way. You're using the credit card to move money around. And that's a legitimate reason to use credit cards. And frankly, that was the original purpose of a credit card, wasn't to run up a debt. It was that if you were traveling, you just have this piece of plastic, Bank America card and Traveler's card, and they had some other interesting things. If I look over here, it's because I have a studio audience member, a friend of mine, James. Um, Barry, who was here a couple of weeks ago, told him of his pleasant experience sitting here, and I don't know if it's because of the all the beer in the refrigerator, or he's truly interested in the conversation. But it's always nice to have a live audience in the room. It helps with the feedback in some ways as well, because I'm a very lucky person in that I get the feedback in the conversation, but having people in front is a really cool thing. I think what's going to happen is if I can figure out how to get my local pub, my favorite one, to finally get halfway decent wireless connection and internet capabilities, I might do a live stream from his venue or something like that, because having people around is always wonderful, especially if you're doing a live show. So, oh, hey, how's it going, Neil? Neil Bailey, how's the world treating you? So, as I was saying, using a credit card as a tool to move money around is a completely legitimate reason to use a credit card. Um, and That's how I use, or I am using, mine in this context. And as James pointed out, that's how he uses it in his. Roar and More. Hey, how's it going? Roy in McKinney, Texas. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Always nice to have somebody, come in, call in from let me know where they're calling in from and how they're doing. Glad to have you here as well. Uh, and so, yeah. And then I would say one of the other ways to legitimize a credit card is if it was a speculative buy, which is something I don't like. But you're entitled to do whatever you choose to do with your money and your life. But I don't like speculation. It's like ticket scalping. You're taking advantage of someone else's inability to have had your fortune in acquiring that product. You're leveraging your access at the expense of their money. And I have nothing wrong with a honest profit. And to me, an honest profit is anything up to, say, 100% if you're a retail, obviously, because you have to pay rent. But once you go past, 100% profit, then you're really starting to look at gouging. So I mean, if you double the price of something you've purchased, and it's something that you took legitimate effort to, well, I mean, I guess even if it's a lucky purchase, if you have something that is of desire and you're able to purchase it at a point where you can make a profit, then make a profit. But if you're gouging because you have the ability to, because the person has no other choice, then I have nothing for you. But if you are going to scalp, use the credit card, because if you're going to flip the money very quickly, then you can pay the credit card off. So, that's another legitimate use of a credit card, in my opinion. What are your opinions? Where would you find yourself using a credit card? How would you feel comfortable using a credit card in a financial transaction involving a watch, just a watch? You see a watch you like, do you whip out the plastic or not? You know, what are your thoughts on that? Let's see. Hey, Weggy Weston, caught the live. Hey, thank you. Worcestershire, England. Worcester, right?
Yeah, Worcester.
Worcester. There we go. I've got an English kind of person here on the couch here. James, I think he's kind of British-y. Um, yeah, see, it's really cool to have this watch community. One of the nice things about the web is the ability to draw people together from around the planet who share interests. And in this case, watch collecting and horology is a pretty noble reason to get together. It's a very pure hobby, as I'm always pointing out. There's no religion, no politics, no race. It's all about the watch and the craftsmanship and craftswomanship that goes into it. And I've often said that a watch can transcend the maker. Um, if the watch is being used in a bad way in real time by the manufacturer, I wouldn't say so. Like, timers for bombs or something for nefarious purposes. That's a different thing entirely. But if you say, for example, I use actors as an example. I think Tom Cruise is a fantastic actor. I think he's a little on the iffy side and personality wise. But I've recognized that art stands on its own, and watches are art, right? So how would you pay for your art? Let's see. Did what freeze up? Did the live stream freeze up? Hopefully everything's running smoothly. Um, it's just Lola. I've never had a credit card. I'm at the low end of the watch collecting and currently saving for the Bulova lunar watch. I did a piece on it. It'll take about 6 months to save for it. That's the best way. And then when you get it, you'll have such a feeling of accomplishment that you've, went through it and it's such a classic piece. And then, once you have the money, you can maybe start looking for maybe a deal and you've got a war chest. So you got room to maneuver and it gives you a feeling of empowerment when you go shopping. And who knows? Maybe you're walking past a shop and the Seiko GMT catches your eye instead, and you say, "Well, I got the money. Let me use it." That's the nice thing about saving the money and having it. Having that money in your hand gives you a sense of empowerment because it lets you know how much room you have to haggle on the price of a watch. It lets you know that since you're budgeted for it, you can. It is instant gratification in that sense. I mean, it was prolonged. Uh, you know projection, denial of pleasure to achieve your goal. But once you're there and you're in the pilot seat and you're cruising and you're looking for that buy, it is a very empowering feeling to know that you can drop, the money you want on the watch you like and not worry about a credit card bill or interest or any BS involved. It is a powerful feeling to have that kind of weight in your pocket when you're going out to buy something, even something that's a reasonable price. Go out to buy a nice powered toothbrush for $100, knowing that you can, if you have the money in the budget ready to go, you could just make your mind up between whatever you happen to have in front of you without even thinking about issues because you're budgeted for it. I mean, it goes with just about anything, but you should definitely buy watches in a budgeted manner. And so kudos to you for doing that. Really, really, really kudos. And like I said, you'll enjoy the watch more once you've saved up for it and have it in your hand and you realize that all of the work paid off and you have this cool thing that if you take good care of it, you'll have it forever. Um, let's see. Hardy Junk. Hey, how's it going, Hardy Junk? Hi, Jensen James from Cape Town. Hey, how's it going? At least your lights are on. First world problems, that side. Yes, exactly. One of the things I love to say is that all I have are first world problems. Like, oh my goodness, I have to put this brand new Chrono on my credit card, but I'm getting such a good deal. And, the average person on the street in Ukraine is going like, yeah, yeah, tell me about your problems. Thank you. Or I could even go as far as to my hometown in Queens. I know a lot of people who would look me in the eye and say, yeah, that's a bunch of au-fait stuff you're talking to me about. Au-fait is an old, old, old word that I can't translate and keep from being demonetized. So let's see. James Duffy, with discounts getting smaller and rarer, any amount of cash back on credit card helps. Just don't let the points influence the purchase. Exactly, James. See, that's the thing. A credit card is a tool. And just like a chainsaw misused can chop off your leg, uh, or a bench saw can lop off a thumb, or you could really hurt yourself with a tool used improperly to the point where you may not recover. You may get well, but you'll never get better. And the credit card can be just like that. It really can. It's a great tool, but if it twists in your hands while using it, it may cut the user to a point of irrecoverable damage. Let's put it that way. Um, in my case, I was a very lucky man. Um, my second marriage, my second ex-wife was a very frugal, intelligent, savvy money person, and during our marriage, we bought a house, and even after our divorce, I made enough of a profit from the house sale that I was able to finance my return to Germany and pay off my credit cards and be able to start from a relative blank slate, which is a magic ticket for a lot of people. There are a lot of people who wish they could do that, and I was a very lucky person. So I didn't have a lot of money left over after that entire process, but I had an apartment full of furniture and no debt, which is a big thing. So I'm very mindful of debt, but yeah, I guess maybe also my partial guilt for using the credit card. I figured, let me use it as a topic in the show, so I can at least say that I'm leveraging the experience for the positive information to illuminate the audience and create a conversation topic. So let's say, Hardy Yank, I would not rip out the card. Watch is cash only except for convenience. Exactly. Just using the credit card to move money around. You don't have them, like in my case, I've got an American account and I have a German account. I keep most of my money in the American account because being overseas, you should keep less than 10K unless you want to do a lot of paperwork in your account. So if I see something I like, I'll sometimes but I usually use my debit card if I have the money there in my American account. But yeah, in this case, I didn't, but I know I'll be able to pay it. So I used the credit card. But like I said, it made me think, how far would you be willing to go to get that watch you want? And then there's another aspect of money and watch collecting I wanted to touch upon, but let's see what other questions we got here. Shy Robert, how's it going, Shy? Price gouging, wearing fakes are less criminal than breaking the speed limit while driving. Um, yes, scalping tickets. And I've bought scalp tickets. I bought scalp tickets to the Rolling Stones in 1983. It was worth it. Didn't like that I had to pay a scalper's fee. So, you can use and recognize price gouging, um, but you don't have to like it. That's all. It's my opinion. Like I said, I'm not the arbiter of all things. I'm just expressing my opinion and hoping that you're willing to express yours so we can have a conversation here. Let's see. Hannes, I would never use a credit card for a watch buy. I would feel better to save for it and buy with no financial problems coming up at the next monthly bill. Exactly. And in that way, it keeps the hobby a hobby, because if you wind up being in debt for your watch collection, then it's a burden. And how can you get joy? How can you get any pleasure from a burden? Especially a burden that could change your life. You're in bad debt. You could really hurt yourself, you know? And to do it for a watch, as much as I love watches, I wouldn't run the risk of losing my apartment or getting fired from my job or having to go into bankruptcy because I thought that Cartier Santos was really cool. It is a cool watch, but is it worth changing your life over? So yeah, no, I'm like I said, using the credit card as a tool, I think, is acceptable, uh, as if you needed my permission. But yeah, don't get yourself in a position where you're paying interest on something you don't have to own. You know. Let's see. Oh, Roar and More, I'm sorry if you were having some technical issues. I'm glad to have you back in the conversation. We're not even halfway into the show, so anything you want to talk about, we can go into. We're only starting by talking about money. I always have a topic we start with, but anything anybody wants to bring up, audience questions trump the monologue, because I can always bring it up next week. Let's see. What part of Germany? I live in Wiesbaden. It's near Frankfurt. It's a small city, about a quarter million people. It's also the state capital. So if you know New York at all, it's like an Albany and New York City thing when you think of Frankfurt, because a lot of people think Frankfurt's the state capital, but it's not. It's Wiesbaden. And Wiesbaden is also the unofficial capital of the Rheingau wine valley. So it's also a nice place for that. There's a wine festival every 15 seconds or so during the summer. And now that we're into the harvest time, we're going to get a couple of harvest festivals going on. And then, of course, in the winter, you've got to do the Glühwein and the Feuerzangenbowle, which is the spiced wine with the rum, the hot sugar melted rum. You have to see a video on that. It's really awesome stuff. So they find ways of using wine all the time in Germany. What were we talking about? But yeah, right, Christian, credit cards for purchases for travel points, pay the card off. Exactly. Use the points, use it to move money around, leverage the tool, but don't get cut by the tool. Let's see. My uncle sent me to Launch Tool back in the day. Yeah, I've been to Launch Tool. Once upon a time, I was a traveling salesman for over a decade here to the PX system. I've been to every military base from Bremerhaven to Aviano and Livorno and Vicenza and all the ones in between. I was a very lucky man, like I said, seen a lot of the world. That USO plaque is for Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I was the Rhine Mine. At Rhine Mine Air Base, I was the point man for Anheuser-Busch and Heineken and Robert Mondavi. And yeah, during Desert Storm, I threw parties for the soldiers and stuff. So I was very lucky and honored to be able to serve the military even after I had gotten out, and especially in such a fun way. But yeah, Launch Tool is a cool place. I've been there. The military hospital is still there, one of the best in the world, actually. But then, of course, they take first level trauma patients from combat zones. So yeah, they've got some of the best doctors and nurses and attendants and everybody. The janitors sweep well. It's really a great place. Uh, it may have its issues, but what institution does not? So let's see. Christian, James. Oh, a comment to James. How much discount do you get these days? You get 10% off at any AD in Upper Austria. Well, 10%. If you go in and you haggle nice, you should be able to get 10 points from any decent dealer, at least 5, you know, especially if you have cash. I mean, if you have cash, they got to give you at least 5% just for the fees that they're saving from their paperwork processing, a credit card and all that other stuff. 10% is a good amount, and the more the merrier. So yeah, if you can get discounts, use them. Obviously, it's always nice to be able to talk somebody down, and it gives you if you're in a conversation with that salesperson anyway, why not ask them for a discount? Uh, they may give you a nice one just because they recognize a fellow traveler in the watch community, as opposed to someone just trying to buy a shiny watch. Can't hurt that try. Let's see. James says, Christian, I'm seeing 15% on Swatch Group stuff in the States, under 10 wave sales tax for Richmond and LVMH. No discounts at boutiques or premier ADs. Rolex is a non-issue. Yeah, pretty much. James, gave a good summary of what I just said. He's got his finger on the button. Oops, that was meant for Christian. Yes, but that's okay. We can all, know that kind of info. I mean, actually, a lot of watch pundits do talk about, the discounts they get or how to haggle. I'm not as good as some. Sometimes I don't get much. Sometimes I'm lucky and I get a good discount, like in this case with the $600, 600 euro off I was able to get on it. So it's about 15%, 17% off. Yeah. So I got about 15 points off on this watch, which isn't bad, which justified the credit card purchase. And so I'll pay it off probably by the end of next month, because I could pay it off this month, but I've committed to purchase. I've committed to buy an Omega Seamaster GMT, the first generation coaxial movement, the modified Etta. I had one, did a video on it, sold it to a friend, and I really do miss that watch. And it is a collectible piece. It's the first generation coaxial movement, and this one has box and papers where the one I sold did not. So I always use that as my justification to rebuy a watch that I regret selling. Is, well, this time I'm getting it with box and papers, so I'm improving the residuals, ability, and which segues into the second point about money and watch collecting that I wanted to get into. Um, But let's see what Roar Moore asks a question. Any thoughts on the brand Gotham? Just purchased a mechanical pocket watch from them. I must admit I don't know a lot about them. I've heard of them, but I can do a little bit of research, and next week we can talk about them in detail. Just come on back and we'll chat. I'll make sure that I'm prepared with some intelligent answers as opposed to some vague remembrances of things I've heard about Gotham, uh, the watch company itself. Okay, so yeah, I'll do some investigation, and we'll touch on them next week. I've done this for other people, and I have done my research and always come back. So, hi from hey, Yokota Air Force Base. Nice to hear. Good to see some. I always like to, like I said, the nice thing about a channel like this, it brings people of interest together from around the world. We wouldn't be able to get a dozen people into a room, in the middle of an average city to talk about watches without a lot of planning. And the fact that we've got, over a dozen people from around the world right now participating in this conversation on watches, I think is an extremely cool thing. And then the channel always has a decent tail. We always get a couple of hundred views after the show. So yeah, it's always nice to have all of these members of the watch community from around the world. I'm honored and humbled that you give me some of your time in this busy world. So let's see. Hey, Wonder Tan guy, how's it going? Nice to see you. Glad to see you. The other aspect of the watch collecting and money that I wanted to touch on is how much of your watch collection can you think of as an investment? Is a watch collection an investment? And my philosophy has always been, and I've done more in-depth, more direct discussions on that aspect of value, but I want to expand a little bit beyond that. But a watch collection may not grow in value the way, say, for example, a stock portfolio would, or you might get a lot of residuals like some people fantasize about from buying, say, for example, a Rolex. They get one at a halfway decent price. There are a lot of people who bought high on Rolex and are now regretting it because they're several $1,000s in the hole on those watches that they speculated on. So if you were a speculator who bought a Rolex 6 months ago on your credit card, you're probably not a happy person right now, because you're a few $1,000s in the hole on a watch that you're paying interest on. So, it is something you have to be very careful about. But in my case, I believe that if you have a good value watch collection, you're not going to get a lot if all of your watches are, $100 watches. You could flip those watches and get money. But if you have, for example, 10 $100 watches, if you had to liquidate it, you might be able to get $500 out of it. But that's more fun money than like a real financial situation. If you're a collector that has, say, for example, 10 $5,000 watches, that's a serious amount of money. And depending on what you have, if you've got some Longines and some Tag Heuer and you've got some maybe a Rolex or a Tudor or two, you could probably get 80 cents on the dollar on that, and then you're still looking at about $40,000 from a $50,000 collection if you had to sell in haste. If you sell at leisure, you can almost get you can get pretty much market value for any watch in your collection. So a watch collection is a value store, but I don't consider it an investment in that you would expect it to appreciate and make you profit in that sense. But you'll get most of your money back, and it's a good hedge in case of an emergency, which is why I was going to say about my collecting. I've changed my collecting habits lately. I used to buy and sell to keep my collection at a reasonable size, and the money that I made from selling watches, I would use some of that money and add to it, buy other watches. But recently, I've decided I'm not going to sell a watch unless I need it for financial emergency purposes. I'm not going to sell watches to buy watches anymore. I'm going to save up and buy watches going forward and add to the existing collection. And I'm not going to sell any watches from my collection because I want to grow that value store at this point. Um, Things are unstable financially for, the world. I'm living in Europe, the euro's down. I get paid luckily in dollars from my clients in the United States. Like I said, my primary accounts are there, but who knows where financial markets are going to go. And especially being someone here in Europe, if I may have to pack up and, go suddenly, I'd rather stuff a backpack full of watches, you know, stuff a backpack full of watches and go out the door like that than have to worry about, oh, how do I get access to a bank account I might not have a teller for or a bank machine for or whatever wherever I'm headed. So I think of watches also as emergency hedge fund money because watches are liquid. If you are in serious financial shape, you can probably get at least 50 cents on the dollar if it's a good watch. If you paid $3,000 for that Longines and it's in good shape in your box and papers, you're going to get $1,000 from a dealer, a reputable dealer for that because they can easily double that, get their 100% and sell that watch. So watches, like I said, you're not going to make $1 million from them. You're not going to get a big profit from them, but they are a financial hedge against instability. And that's why I've decided to not sell any watches for the foreseeable future and just buy and add to the collection. What are your thoughts on that? Let's see. Hey, Jonathan Cavassini, how's it going? From Wristwatch check, Formex Reef. Wristwatch check. I'm wearing my Mido Ocean Star Chrono. I really like this piece. I consider it my pacifier for not getting the Omega Seamaster Chrono. And now that I bought the Rado Chrono, I'm glad I didn't get the Seamaster Chrono because um, I like the fact that the Mido is different enough from the Rado that I can keep both in the collection. Um, and the Seamaster would overshadow the Rado as a wearing piece in the rotating collection. And I like to keep my watches also in balance. So to me, having two nice uh, chronos as opposed to one super nice chrono is sometimes preferable. But then again, I've got expensive pieces in my collection and, in other verticals within the collection. I've talked about, what types of watches to collect and such in other live streams. But if you did want to talk about any of those aspects, we could chat about those as well. Let's see. Michael Sable. There's a major storm hitting Japan right now. I hope everything works out. I hope you stay safe, you and yours. Okay. Uh, Roaring more. In your opinion, not an investment, right? I don't consider watches an investment. I just consider them another place to squirrel nuts away in case of winter. I have a investment account and I do save money and I have a pension. I even have a pension coming from Hearst, old school pension. Um, but I will almost certainly start selling watches in my 70s, if not my 80s, because by then I will probably have fewer opportunities to wear them around the nursing home. And at that point, I'll take the money from those watches. And even if I'm not making a profit, that's money that I could use in the commissary or gamble at the bingo tables over at Old Home Night. But at one point, I or my daughters, if I pass, well, I will pass and leave my collection to my daughters. Um, they may keep some, they may sell some, but what they do with it is their own choice. But they are going to represent a substantial inherent value that they could translate into cash relatively easy unless civilization is ended. Let's see. Hi, Alex. How's it going, Mark? Mark L. Cove. Hey, glad to have you on board. James Duffy, I try to see my watch collection as an equity toward future purchases rather than investment. Yeah, like I said, it is worth money, but don't expect profit from it. Don't expect it to, increase like it get interest or something. It's you could almost say it's like a good car, but then again, most cars depreciate comically. So let's say you had a good collectible, like a nice Mustang or something. It may not go up a lot, but it's not going to go down a lot either if you take good care of it. You know, Christian, what would you say is the best way to sell a watch? I might reach a point where I need to make a place in the stable. Um, Personally, I either go to a watch dealer I trust and have them sell it on commission, but then you got to give up at least 10% of the watch's value to the watch dealer. But I have two of my pieces in town right now. The advantage of leaving your watches with a dealer is you don't have to worry about it. The dealer worries about it. And if you really get cold feet, you can go back, and if they haven't sold it yet, you can get it back. Um, the other way I sell is I use Chrono 24 a lot. I use Chrono 24 probably several times a year, mostly when I'm selling a piece, but I've bought on Chrono 24 as well. And the nice thing about Chrono 24 is it's all guaranteed money because they hold it's an escrow account. You keep the watch until you sell it, and then they hold the money. You send it insured, and they get it. Since it's insured, you get receipt, and they can't wiggle out that they didn't get it. And Chrono 24 releases the money to you, and they take, I think they might have raised it, but it used to be 6%. It might have gone up, but it'll be less than 10. And the advantage there is the money goes straight to your bank account, so the money is safe, as it were. So I would suggest, if you have a shop in town that you trust, go ahead and ask them if they do commission sales. And if not, Chrono 24, I would recommend it. I trust them. I've used them. Let's see. Wonder Tan guy. None of mine is an investment. All are caprice. Well, but like I was saying, but it's liquid caprice. It's like buying a horse when you're drunk. As long as the horse isn't sick, you could sell the horse, and you might lose some money on the horse because you don't know anything about horses, but you're going to get at least half of the money that you spent on the horse selling the horse. So watches, as long as you get a halfway decent watch, even like I was saying, that $500 Seiko GMT, if you sell it to a friend, you'll get a couple $100. So watches are not an investment, but they are value. I mean, there is value in there. It's just, don't count on it. You know. Um, but in a real crisis situation, I'd rather try to bribe a 21-year-old border guard with a Rolex off my wrist than try to, get him to take a gold bar like every other refugee in line has been offering him, to be bloody minded about it. Let's see. Thoughts on Timex and PRX quartz on leather. The I used to be more snobbish on quartz until I came to realize that quartz is also a legacy horology technology. That most smartwatches have silicon resonators in them, or clock ICs in them now. They don't use crystal resonators. So a quartz watch is actually just another way to tell time nowadays, in perspective to a smartwatch, which is the current quartz watch, as far as the quartz wars and quartz crisis, because quartz watches are just as much a threat. A quartz watch with hands is just as much a threat from a smartwatch as a Vacheron Constantin, because that smartwatch is bought by the person who doesn't want to watch with hands, no matter what kind it is. They want that smart functionality. And the new Apple Watch is admittedly awesome. It even has a depth gauge in it. It's a fully rated 100-meter dive computer, titanium, sapphire, water resistant, obviously. And I mean, they're showing off by making it a dive computer as well, but you can literally use it as a dive computer. That's how good it is. So there's literally no reason now to wear a watch with hands, except for the fact that you're a watch aficionado. So PRX quartz, more power to you. And on a leather strap, it looks nice. I actually did a video. I bought the PRX to do an episode on it. I've already sold my automatic. I'm keeping the Chrono, at least for now. And I have the leather strap on order for the Chrono. I'm picking it up tomorrow. I'm going to do an episode on that, of course. And so, yeah, and especially their quick release straps. So there's no down there. You put the metal strap on when you feel like the metal strap, and you put the leather strap on when you like the leather. And Timex, under citizenship's ownership, Timex has been going gangbusters. They've got some really cool pieces. Their new Pan Am Chrono, I don't know if you've seen that, is awesome. It's fun, it's beautiful, and it's not expensive. That's the nice thing about Timex is that they're reasonably priced, fun, quality watches, as our citizens, as our Seikos, as are a lot of watches out there, actually. As I've often said, having fun with a watch collection doesn't have to involve spending an arm and a leg on watches. I've got friends with literally my friend Rob. He has all those Paganis and all of those other Invictas and the like. He's got easy 60 watches, rainbow color. He's got purple Invictas. He's got purple Paganis. He's got, and he has fun with the collection. So it's not about how much the watch costs. It To me today, it's keeping if you can have a mechanical watch, more power to you. But it's about the just having the old analog watch, the presentation, and the quartz watch today is acceptable completely to me. Which is an opinion that's changed. My opinion has changed over time as I have grown wiser. Good evening, Antares. How's it going? Um, I bought a Black Bay deposit on a card and then did monthly over 2 years. So you got it for a retail discount and sold it for higher, no earlier penalties. I think that's see, again, you used the card as a tool in that sense, because you knew that the watch was going to appreciate, and you probably felt that, the what you were paying was worth the increase that you got on it when you eventually rolled it over. Um, so I would say, yeah, that's legitimate use. If you know where you're going with the money, then a credit card is not a bad thing to have or to use. Like as I was saying earlier, it's a tool. Just like a chainsaw can do all kinds of stuff. It doesn't know the difference between a leg and a log. You could lose a leg if you don't know what you're doing. Oh, Mark, always use credit card on purchases you're covered and takes your credit rating, but obviously only you have the money in bank to pay the balance off at the end of the month. Exactly. That's another reason to use a credit card. Some credit card companies offer additional guarantees and additional warranties or service plans or points, as was pointed out earlier. And if you have the money to pay the card off, then yeah, use the card for that as a tool to move money around. I think that's a great idea. Mm. Just like I said, be smart with your money. Work smarter, not harder with it. And like I said, I'm letting your collection grow unless if you don't need the money, don't sell the watch. If you need the money, or if you see a watch you want and you need the money from selling a watch to get that other watch, go ahead and sell. But my advice for the near future is don't sell, buy watches. And especially now that the pricier ones have fallen, Rolex has fallen off its shelf, the high priced ones. There hasn't been a lot of downward pressure on middle level watches. Omegas are still $3 to $4 to $5,000. They didn't go down a lot. But now would be a good time to buy watches, in my opinion, because it's about as low as it's going to get for the foreseeable future. I mean, they might bump along the ground a little bit more, but considering that as a date just retails for 9 and change, and now you can get them for 11 and change gray market, they're about as low as they're going to go right now, in my humble opinion. So now would be a good time if you wanted to buy anything to buy, because they are going to eventually go up. I don't know by how much. They may just go up with inflation, but as I said before, they'll still retain their core value, and you'll get 80 to 90 cents on the dollar if you sell smart. Let's see. Jonathan Cavassini, nice piece. The Mido. Yes, I really do like the Mido. And I did an episode on this. So if you want, you should check it out. No, I haven't done one yet. The next episode I'm going to do recorded, I've already promised, is going to be on the fairer Chrono, but I'll make this one the one after that. This week I saw the Tag Heuer Carrera Porsche chronograph. It looks so cool with the leather strap. Reminds me of car leather seats. Well, Porsche design isn't stupid. They actually started Porsche design during the oil crisis back when they were worried that they wouldn't have enough revenue. And so they created Porsche design as a way to leverage their, name and skill. Because, of course, it does take design to make a beautiful car. And so, yeah, they've been very successful with that. And today, Porsche design gets a lot of respect. So, yeah, and then I don't think that they were unaware of the evocation of leather seats with the strap. They're very smart people and creative people too. Nice pieces. I've had one myself. They're a Porsche design. I've had one pass through my hands in my collecting years. Um, Nice pieces. I'd probably keep it now, but then again, like I said, I'm keeping everything unless I need to sell. I'd really change my opinion on that. I'm willing to let my collection get to weird sizes at the present time, and then maybe sometime next year or in a couple of years, I'll sell off some. But for the foreseeable future, I'm going to hold on to my collection and only buy. Um, can't hurt, you know. And it is a hedge. It may not be an investment, but it's definitely a hedge. Let's see. Always use credit cards, right, the full balance, we went through that part. It does hype from Cyprus. Oh, yes, from Cyprus. That's very cool, Mark. Very cool. Um, I'm a purist, roaring more. I'm a purist. I drink my whiskey neat and I wear an automatic watch. Haha. Well, what I'm fond of, and kudos, what I'm fond of saying is I'm an embedded electronics specialist by day, and my hobby is mechanical. And to me, mechanical represents the last. This represents the last and best of that era, analog engineering, machinery. This. Metal doing things. And mechanical watches are elegant. So Roar and More, don't just say purist and automatic watch. If someone offered you a sweet hand wound, a Man in the Moon Speedmaster, I bet you'd take it. It's mechanical. So don't just get hooked up on automatic. You might want to hand wind once in a while. You never know. Don't knock it till you try it. Oh, twist the knobs. Let's see. Neil Bailey. It does get me. It does get to me. People look at watches as an investment, not for the love of the watch. Yeah, no, never buy it for the investment value. Never, ever, in my humble opinion, never. Or actually, not even humble. In my opinion, never buy for investment value. If you want the watch, buy it expecting to never sell it and lose everything. You're buying it to use it. You're not buying it to sell it. If you do decide to sell it, it would be like as if you bought a video camera and you used it and you decided to buy another video camera and you sold the other video camera. You didn't buy that video camera to sell it. You bought it to use. And it was probably an expensive piece of kit. And that means you can get some money back from it when you sell it. But you didn't buy that video camera to sell it. Don't buy a watch for that reason. I agree with you 100%. We see eye to eye on that. Let's see. I'm interested in the Speedmaster Mark 40 with the blue, red, and orange dial. Do I think it'll go up in value? Not a lot, but I don't think it's going to go down in value either. I really don't. Um, I think that, like I said, those collectible Speedmasters, they're going to although the Speedmaster itself's gone up, it's worth about 6 for a Man in the Moon. So it means that that your Speedmaster is worth probably between 5 and 6 right now. So it could go up more. I don't think it'll go up a lot more, but it will definitely maintain its value and incrementally increase, in my opinion. I would say it would incrementally increase. So let's see. The whiskey, we read that part. Rest assured, the bubble has popped. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I think the market has corrected. That's why I say now is a good time to buy, because most of the speculators are licking their wounds now, and especially if you're buying a mainstream watch, an Omega, a Speedmaster, or a Seamaster, they're pretty stable right now. But they're still $5,000 watches. You can get a good used one like a $3,000 Seamaster, but it's going to be old, and it might be quartz. They're not cheap. A quartz Seamaster is still going to set you back $2,000 to $3,000. Because it's a collectible now for a lot of reasons. So let's say not a Porsche design, a Tag Heuer Porsche Chronograph. Okay. Oh, that was the cross. Yes, I heard about they had some kind of tie-in crossover joint effort thing. I'd heard about that one. But I'm just saying is if it's a joint effort, both Tag Heuer and Porsche were involved in the design, and Porsche, the car company, it could be that the car company themselves was directly involved, but Porsche Design is part of the Porsche car company. So, maybe they weren't directly involved, but Porsche Design does design watches. That's all I was pointing out. And the people at Porsche who worked with Tag Heuer to create that watch were probably really sharp designers. And if they were car only designers, that's good too, because then the tag, gave some really good cues. Like I said, I heard about the watch. I'm going to take a closer look at that one. Thanks for giving me a heads up on it. So let's see. Hannes, ever thought about having a one watch collection? I kind of like the thought of passing my watch down to my kids at one point, but on the other hand, there are so many nice watches out there. You can pass multiple watches down to your kids, you know. Then they can say, well, this was dad's favorite, or, I only saw dad wear this one once in a while, or wow, this was the one, I saw dad wear this one every Saturday night when he went out. He must have really liked this one. Nothing wrong with leaving multiple watches to your kids. Uh, then again, as far as a one watch collection, I would trade my entire collection right now for a Gerard Perregaux Constant Force Escapement watch with the blade spring technology. But then that watch costs $70,000 used. It's $100,000 new. My entire collection is worth about 70, all of it. So I would have to literally give up my entire collection to have that one watch. But I would do it for that one watch. I would. But then again, even then, I wouldn't have one watch. I'd have to have a beater. I'm not going to wear a $70,000 watch to an Amsterdam bar when I'm at a convention. I might wear the Gerard Perregaux with my suit on the show floor. But when I'm, bar hopping that evening in t-shirt and jeans, I'm not going to have a $70,000 watch on my wrist. I'll put that Seiko $500 Seiko GMT, or that's another reason that I'm going to keep the Glycine Airman, the gunmetal gray one. I'm going to wear that when I'm in Amsterdam next week. That's the watch I'm going to wear when I go bar hopping. Nobody's going to cut my arm off for that. So yes, I do think that a one watch collection is cool, but I don't think a one watch collection is really tenable. A person who says they have a one watch collection means they have one watch they care about, and then they have a G-Shock. So they have a two watch collection. Let's say James Ricketts. Lekka being in your studio, Alex. Great space to James just sent me a little text here in the game. Isn't that nice? And grab a beer. That's right. We'll have another one after this. Which reminds me, we're about 10 minutes off from the end of the show. So if you have any other comments or questions, now's the time. So let's see. Let's look at what we got. Hannes Lair. Mark is saying to Hannes, to many, I think they should watch his anonymous meetings. Well, yeah, I know some people who do go nuts about watches, but like I said, if you really are in bad shape, at least you could sell the watches and get some of the money back. It's not like if you bought some new tires for your Mustang, the tire shop's not going to take back used tires, especially if you spun out a couple of times in front of your apartment building. Whereas, yeah, like I said, any good jeweler will give you at least 50% on a valuable piece. Let's see. Mark, I say that it's no more than end of the month, another one. Well, yeah, save and buy, save and buy, save and buy. Or you mean another Watches Anonymous meeting? There you go. Well, I like to think this is kind of a Watches Anonymous meeting. We all get together and we can say the stuff we like and talk about all the cool stuff and what we enjoy. I mean, that's what this whole thing is about, is that we can have this conversation. And it's not just about me spouting off my opinion. It's about what you have to say and what we can make of your questions or ideas, and increase this circle of friends. That's all. And talk about watches in a way that we all enjoy. So let's see. It would have to be one watch that has it all, like the Longines Master Collection. Oh yeah, right. That Longines, the moon phase, but it's not loomed. So what do you wear at night? That's the thing. Whenever you get to the one watch question, other questions come into play, like even watches that are famous one watch collection watches, like a Rolex Explorer. What do you wear when you're, bar hopping in Amsterdam? You wear a Rolex Explorer bar hopping in Amsterdam, you're going to come home missing in hand. Well, I shouldn't beat up on Amsterdam. That's mean to say. Go bar hopping in any big city, Frankfurt, Tokyo, Berlin, Queens. You go bopping around now with $10,000 on your wrist, that's $2,000 even to the cheapest fence, you know? So, yeah, if you're lucky, they'll just snatch it off your wrist. If you're unlucky, they'll snatch it off your wrist without disengaging the bracelet, and if it's a new Rolex, the bracelet's of a good enough quality that it'll pull your hand off with it, not to be bloody-minded. But even if you have a one-watch collection, you're gonna need a beater watch. 'Cause no, you can't wear every watch everywhere. And if your one watch collection is a beater watch, what are you gonna do when your daughter gets married? Wear a G-Shock with a tuxedo? Better off just not to wear a watch, but then, oh my god, I don't know if I'd feel naked. Oh, let's see, Hannes, at Christian. Again, there are many good ones out there for every occasion. Funny thought to pass down the watch Daddy wore when he didn't want his arm cut off when he was bar hopping. There you go. See? And that creates stories too, right? Because like Federico, he's got that, Seiko he wears all the time, the SKX. If he ever gets married, has kids, that watch is famous. He owns a Ferrari. He's owned Ferraris, and he's got multiple Mosers and Gerard Perregaux. He owns all kinds of expensive watches, and he still keeps a Seiko SKX in his collection. It's for a reason. As he says, when he's traveling, he wears it. He doesn't have to worry. So even if you have a one watch collection, never hurts to have a beater. In fact, you're going to want to have a beater. So I would say you can always have a two watch collection. Let's see. James Duffy, the volatile currency exchange has made buying from other countries too tempting lately. The yen is at a 24-year low against the dollar. Check duty issues. You might order something from Japan and find out that you got to pay a 20% duty or something, and then you've wasted the money that you saved on the watch. Me personally, I buy from Chrono 24, but I only buy from European Union countries. So that way it's all within the local mail system, as it were. It's all within the same um, tax system. So there are no unpleasant surprises when you buy something. That's the only thing I would look into if I were you. If you're buying internationally, are there duty issues? Are there tax issues? Will you have an unseen bill after you've saved money on that transaction? That's all I would say. And um, I would also be very careful about international sales of watches that are easily copied, like Panerai or Rolex, because there are a lot of fakes floating around in the international gray market. I would be very careful about that. I would only buy those from authorized dealers with good ratings on Chrono or other forums of that nature. Uh, I wouldn't buy any watch over $5,000 from a private seller, because then the risk is too high that something could go wrong. My Accutron astronaut, the guy meant well, but he wasn't thinking, and he just sent it as regular mail, and it almost got lost. That was only 1,200 euro watch, but a dealer's going to make sure it's sent right, packaged properly. Well, actually, the guy who sent me the Accutron, he packaged it properly, so I'm not going to ding him there. But the dealer, a dealer will make sure that it's sent with the right insurance and postal level, so that it gets tracked, and it has to be signed for, and the like, because you definitely don't want to lose a $5,000 watch in the mail. That is a bummer and a half, especially if you're liable for the money. If you ordered it and it didn't arrive, and you can cancel the credit card, or another reason to buy it with a credit card, right? If it's a shady deal, you can have the credit card company kill the sale. Um, so that's another good reason to use a credit card. But yeah, be really careful with international sales. Really careful, because you can get burned badly, very badly. And so that's why I would use something like Chrono 24, especially in the case of international sales, because they're an escrow company. They hold the money until the watch arrives. So it minimizes the risk that you'll get screwed. But you got to be careful. You have to really be careful. And we're not talking about small amounts of money here. You know, no no G shocks with a tux, roaring more. Exactly. Um, I meant mechanical earlier. Although I do have autos and a couple of quartz in the collection. Well, yeah, a good collection should be diverse. You should have a quartz or two. And I'm really glad that I made change my heart on the quartz because I was able to buy that Sin compass, which they only made in quartz. And it's a GMT, and you spin the head off, and it's got a little compass underneath. So, I wouldn't have bought that previously until I had changed my heart on quartz watches. So I see we're at the top of the hour. And like I said, I always like to end the show after an hour. So I know we still have something to talk about. So we know we're moving on to next week with a continued interest in topics. So thanks, all of you. I love you all. And thanks for taking the time, and have a great week.